Welcome to episode number 39 of the Better with Brock podcast. My name is Brock Ashby. I'm an online personal trainer based here in Sydney, but train people all over the world. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down many things. First of all, the Team Brock Ashby Bodyquarters. That's what I've decided to call the headquarters, but I've called it the Bodyquarters for obvious reasons. I'm a body transformation coach, and there's going to be a lot more transforming of bodies than transforming of heads here. My P.E.D or performance enhancing drugs accusations that I've been getting and how I achieved my natural transformation, Mr. Beast's body transformation, the sad passing of Joe Linda or Joesthetics, the impact of photo editing on our little fitness, well actually it's quite big, but our fitness, social media scene, fitness industry on the internet, and 3 facts about creatine that you most probably didn't know. Let's get into it. Let's start with the Team Brock Ashby Bodyquarters. So I'm doing this podcast from the Bodyquarters. It's been a dream of mine to have this. The vision is literally almost complete. We have dumbbells from 1 kilo all the way up to 50 kilos. I don't do pounds here. We're based in Sydney, Australia. I'm from New Zealand. I've always dealt with the metric system. I'm just looking around the gym right here. It's like behind me. So the podcast studio's here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the podcast studio's here. I've got the acoustic panels, the table, the mics, the LEDs. But behind the camera, like I'm looking at the gym. I have a hack squat leg press machine that is 2 machines in one. Put that in last week with my father-in-law. I got 2 adjustable benches. We got a 45-degree back extension, get the old hammy and glutes going. I have a squat rack that doubles as a cable machine. So one side is the cable machine and one side is the squat rack. It's absolutely awesome. Great use of space as well. In the corner, I can't really see here because the lights are blocking me, but in the corner I have a trap bar, I have a safety bar, I have a sled. I've got 2 standard barbells, 20 kilos or 45 pounds if you're from the States. And then I have a female bar, which is 15 kilos. I don't know what that is. I think that's 35 pounds. A 15 kilo barbell as well for my female clients that I'll be training here. I have an exercise ball. I got farmer's carry options to work grip strength and isometric back strength as well. And then I have this box that I just installed this week that stores like the dip bar, and there's a seat that you can put on the cable machine to create a lat pull down, which is awesome. And that's also where the weighted dip belt goes, the foam rollers, the ab rollout, and the different handles for the cable machine. My desk is also here with the whiteboard for all the content that I make for my clients. I got a fridge and I got a storage place. And that's pretty much it in the podcast studio where I'm sitting right now. Still need to add the mirrors, and I just got a quote back on putting in some logos, getting the Team Brock Ashby branding in here. So yeah, that's pretty much the Bodyquarters rundown. I am thinking, so if you're watching on YouTube, once again, I appreciate you because you get the views up. I'm really trying to grow the Better with Brock podcast YouTube channel because I created a separate channel. I was posting on my YouTube channel. Now it's all on my Better with Brock podcast YouTube channel. So if you could subscribe there, that'll really help me out. And even if you don't watch it, you can just, if you have YouTube Premium, you can listen to it even when you close your phone. If you have the free YouTube, then you aren't able to do that. But anyway, behind me, I have, the acoustic panels. I have the LED light that I just got, but there's also this kind of empty space on the wall. So when I do a solo podcast, you can't see it too much. You kind of can. But then when I do a podcast where I have a guest in here, there is this part of the wall that has something there. So I am wanting your input on what you think I should get on this wall. Should I get a logo there? Should I get a quote there? Should I get a photo of someone here? I don't know, but put it in the comments. Let me know what you think I should get on this wall behind me because I want it to be cool. So yeah, I'm not training anyone here yet. I will be having a limited amount of one-to-one personal training sessions here throughout the week to disperse into the work that I already do for my online coaching business, Team Brock Ashby. where I coach people all around the world and we achieve incredible body transformations. I do 8-week challenges, but I also do one-to-one personalized coaching, and I have guides as well that you can do that at self-guided. So you calculate your calories and macros under my videos that I provide to help you with that. Anyway, stop talking about myself and my programs that I do, but just letting you know that the Bodyquarters is almost finished. So the goal here is to be able to film my content, whatever I want to do, really doubling down on YouTube, which is growing, which is also, I'm at 12,500 subscribers there. That's just going to keep growing. And obviously shooting content for short form as well, coaching people here, and then ultimately coaching coaches here, running seminars, which will be really cool. That's the future of this place, which will be open very soon. All right, let's talk about performance enhancing drugs, PEDs. Facebook has been going bonkers lately at me. Apparently, I'm a PED user. There's people dropping comments. And the thing that just baffles me is this is someone who's supposedly Christian. 3 kids, right? And he's talking shit to like an online personal trainer on the other side of the world. Like, what are you doing with your time, mate? What are your kids doing when you're sitting there writing Instagram comments back to me or Facebook comments? You know, what's your wife doing? Why don't you hang out with your wife? Or if you're at work, why don't you do some work? Or if you're doing this on your spare time, like, don't you have better things to do than write, like, I hate juice heads that just lying to their audience, taking testosterone? It just baffles me. Like, I would never, ever write a comment like that. And there is a lot of people online, don't get me wrong, that abuse performance enhancing drugs and say that they have never used it or that they're not on it. And they clearly are. And they're lying to their audience saying, hey man, buy my programs. You know, you can achieve my physique. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, right. But I'm not going to grab my phone and go, you're such a liar. You should go to hell. Da, 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 da. Like, if he wants to do that, if she wants to do that, a lot of females do it too. If they want to do that, that's their decision, right? But I sleep very well at night knowing that I'm not in that boat. And I don't know how people like this sleep at night, to be honest. Knowing that they're just lying to their audience. And it's how they make a living, and a very generous living too. Like, there's honest people out in the world. There's people building. There's people teaching, right? There's people healing people. There's people, educating people. And then there's these people manipulating people. Like I don't like it too, okay? But if you come accusing me for taking performance enhancing drugs, and just lying to my audience, then I'm going to come back at you, which I have been doing. All right. And thank you for everyone who's been saying, Brock, don't let the comments get to your head. Don't even worry about them. Why do you even acknowledge these comments? Look, I do it for a reason. It does benefit engagement. I'm not going to lie when people comment. So I like having a go at them, because you come at me, I'll come at you. But also I like kind of figuring out who these people are and how far they're going to go and what is their limit to their accusations that they've been making. For example, this guy is like, you're a juice head, you're just lying to your audience, you're taking steroids. And I was like, okay, I've been training 15 years, blah, blah, blah. Okay, he didn't want to buy it. Whatever, man, you're a liar, da, 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 da. So I said to this guy, okay then, if I was to get my blood work, what markers would you want to see? And then he swore at me. He goes, I don't give a F about that stuff. You're a liar, blah, 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 blah. So obviously his limit is actually knowing if, what your blood work looks like if you are using performance enhancing drugs. And he didn't even know. He didn't even take me up on the offer. He was just like, I don't care if you do that or not. You're just the F in this and you're a F in that. So that's why I like kind of having a go. Throwing out the rod and reeling it in to see how far they're actually going to go. Facebook's just absurd for it. It was a video that I posted, which was called Stop Doing These Exercises If You Want to Build Muscle in 2023. And I was doing exercises that don't lend themselves well to building muscle, and people hated it. They were like, why this, why that? You're just a juice head, and you take steroids. And I was like, okay, well then why? Why is this exercise good for building muscle? And once again, I didn't have an answer. Some guys just like, you're a clown. And I said, why am I a clown, Spark? I remember your name, Spark. I remember your name. And he didn't reply. I have very thick skin. I've gone through a lot of things in my life to realize that there's much more important things to spend your time on in terms of like dwelling. Like obviously I'm spending time writing back to the comments, but I don't lose any sleep. I don't think about, what should I say? I'm like, these guys might be right. Maybe I am a performance enhanced athlete. I don't waste my time on it, but it's just interesting to see, why these people would write these comments. But I also get it on the other side that there are people just like in the fitness industry actually just like abusing and lying to people, manipulating people. And I came across this Instagram account. His name's Goob. I don't know if it's his real name, Goob. Oh, my phone's not here. Let me just do a quick Google search, Goob. Instagram. What's his Instagram? I want to give him props. Goob_U2, John Dorsey. And he is just an absolute angel of the fitness industry. Angel's probably not the right word. He's kind of tearing people down. He's exposing influencers. I think he calls them shitfluencers or something like that. What's his Instagram bio? It's actually really funny because he's calling out people that are editing photos and lying to their audience. His Insta account's growing, which is awesome because he's actually bringing attention to the amount of lies in the fitness industry. What's his bio? Oh, mate, I just got kicked off. I just got sent a code. I don't even know what it is. Mate, just let me get on Instagram. You serious? Just want to see his bio. Just want to read it. Here we go. Online coach, dog dad, your favorite influencer's least favorite influencer. And he like has a green screen behind him and he goes, welcome to the show. And then he pretty much tears them apart because people are lying. So it's good to see people out there that are doing that work. You could say doing God's work because he'll literally zoom into the back of a photo and like there's meant to be a straight wooden panel or there's meant to be a straight locker from taking a gym selfie, but it kind of curves in or it goes out. So it might curve into their waist because they've edited the photo. They've pinched their waist in so that you think they have a smaller waist and they really do. And then if their shoulders are up top, they'll kind of push them out so that they have this wider shoulder, smaller waist look, this attractive V-taper physique that people will look at and go, wow, that's amazing. I want to look like that. I'm going to sign up to your program. So these people that are being manipulated have no idea. But thanks to Goob's work, and I put myself in this category too, hopefully, sharing the right information and letting people know what's out there. We are taking these people down. And the sad thing is, and we'll get this later on when we talk about photo editing, is some of these people already have amazing physiques, like top 1% in the world, and they're still editing their pics. It's like, it's not good enough to be the top 1%. They want to be the top 0.5%. Like they already have a six pack. They already have big arms. They already have a big chest, big shoulders, big quads, whatever. But they further accentuate their bodies to take themselves to that kind of like alien-like physique and get more likes and go viral and get more clients and make more money until you get caught. Until the clients that sign up realize that they're not getting the same results that they've been promised. I was looking at Goob's content last night and he literally got a message from, so there was a lady posting like, sign up and this can happen in 90 days. And the lady that was like in the 90-day photo, like a transformation, messaged Goob and was like, hey, this influencer is using a photo of me that's like 1 year apart or 2 years apart that I achieved without her, and she's using it to promote a 90-day transformation when really it took 1 to 2 years. And he called her out on that. There is a lot of this, and I've actually been approached on Instagram from different accounts saying, hey Brock, if you want transformation pictures, you can buy them off us. And I didn't even know this was a thing. Excuse me. You can buy transformation photos? I was like, what? Here I am trying to transform people's bodies in real life. And there's personal trainers, online coaches that are probably not real coaches on the gym floor, that are just buying transformations and posting them, getting clients, because that's social proof. That's a really strong way to get business. Posting body transformations they used to go viral for me. I used to get a lot of work from people seeing what I've done with other people. Nowadays, people kind of don't really care. I think I posted, a transformation that I achieved with someone over 8 weeks and what he achieved in 10 years, like really turned his life around, which is incredible. And it only got like 100 likes, maybe even less. And I was just like, man. Anyway, but I like to think I get it from real people, but there's people out there. I can't believe you can buy body transformation photos. Like, what's next? Just hiring someone to write your programs and saying that you write the programs. That's probably too obvious. That's probably already been done. But yeah, you have to be careful out there in the fitness industry. I've been accused, if you followed me for a while, you'll know that my physique hasn't really changed that much. I've been pretty similar since, let's say, 2017, which is like 6 years. I've maybe gained 3 or 4 kilos of muscle. I do look bigger. I do look fuller. I am stronger, but like, what do you expect of like 6 years of hard training, 5 to 6 days a week? Of course I'm going to get stronger. Of course I'm going to build muscle. I'm a coach. I'm following evidence-based principles. Of course I'm going to build muscle. And just because I've arrived at this point, like, if there's no context between what's happening between now and the years that I've had of training, then okay, maybe I am a steroid user. But if you follow me, then you'll know that I've just been training hard for ages. I won't lie and say that I don't have good genetics, because I do. I definitely think, and I want to dive into the research. That's one thing I want to do soon, is just like look at how genetics, especially in like Polynesian cultures, specifically the Maori culture, how they build muscle quite easily. I would say I'm a mesomorph. I build muscle quite easy. And I think, that comes down to my genetics. My cousins are very muscular. They eat whatever they want, but they, and they still lift, but they're huge. And our bones are quite dense as well. Like, we have quite thick wrists. Some people, you'll just go up to them and like put your hand around their wrist, and if you're on YouTube, you can see this, and you just put your finger over their wrist like that. Not a lot of people can do that to me. And I'm not saying that I'm this specimen, but my genetics, I was blessed with good bone density. And if you have good bone density, then you can bear more weight. You can carry more weight. Therefore, you're probably going to be stronger in the gym. So if you train consistently, you were built for building muscle. So I definitely have those genetics that definitely, I guess, kick-started my progress or helped me see good results initially. And when you see good results from something, you often tend to do it more. That's how the motivational cycle works. You try something, you get results, and then you repeat that thing. You try something, you get results, and then you continue to do that thing. Right? When you try something and you don't get results, you have to have a certain level of motivation to continue going. Like, maybe your doctor said that you're going to have a heart attack, and even though you're training and you're not getting the results, you still have to do it because you've had a heart attack and you need to push. You need to continue. Okay, look, I haven't lost any weight this week. I need to be better with my diet. I'm going to continue. I haven't built muscle in a month. Maybe my training's a bit off, but I'm going to keep going because I don't want to have a heart attack and, leave my family behind with X and Y. Try things, get results, and repeat. That's the motivational cycle that I think ways work. And that definitely helped me to continue to push on with my training. So let me just kind of break down how I achieved my natural transformation. Then I'm going to break into other things. So I was a sporty kid growing up. I'm going to do a very, very brief one. I've already broken down like how I built 21 kgs of muscle, which sounds, okay, look, maybe that sounds like I've taken performance enhancing drugs, but there's context to it that I'll quickly explain briefly. If you do really want to know in detail, go back to the first episode of this podcast. The audio is pretty average, the video is pretty average, but anyway, you get the point. go back to it and watch it, and then you'll have a real true understanding of how I achieved my transformation. Because building 21 kilos of muscle mass and actually being leaner and stronger and more muscular than before, look, that smells like PEDs to me as well. But there's a reason that happened. Okay, so I was a sporty kid. I was always into sport. My dad called me monkey. My mum called me skinny binny. I was like this little wiry kid, like always lean, running around doing things. I love doing things, riding my bike, climbing trees, throwing balls around. When I played sport, I played softball, volleyball, rugby league, touch, and I did athletics as well. So I was very sporty. I played representative sport for all the sports that I played for. Like I was playing at, I guess you could say, state representative or regional. I even represented my island, or like South Island, for rugby. I was asked to play New Zealand for one sport, touch, but I couldn't afford it at the time because I had to pay for it, which sucked. So I was quite, I guess, gifted naturally with like coordination and, actually enjoying physical activity. And that kind of pushed me into sport. And then as you get older, as I pushed into high school, there was a gym at the high school that I went to. And my mate that I met, Rob, he introduced me to weights. He had a bench press at home. So I met him in my rugby team. And then he had this like chest. Like at 12 years old, he had a chest. I was like, mate, how did you get that chest? And it was because of bench press that he was doing at home. So like when we hung out, I would do some bench press too. And then I got introduced to push-ups. And then at high school, we had a push-up competition. How many can you do in a minute? And without any training, obviously I was doing bench press and push-ups. I wasn't training for this specifically, but I got one of the records for the school. I think I got the third best in the school. And it's like the history of the school. And this is an old school. I don't know when it was founded, but it's probably, 1800 something, early 1900s. Like it's a very popular old school with like rich tradition. And I got third for my year group, which was year 9. So as like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, I got third, which was, I remember it was 58 push-ups in a minute. So it pissed me off because I got less than 1 press up per minute. And I wasn't even trying to get that. I was just like, just going for it. And, for the measure, you had to hit someone's fist every time for the push-up. And if you didn't hit the fist, then it didn't count. So I remember I was just going for it. I tried and I just banged it out. I got 58 push-ups in 60 seconds and my chest was sore for 3 days. It was so sore. But that really got me hooked. And I was like, maybe I'm quite good at this. So I actually practiced that time and I kept practicing and I ended up getting 65, which put me like first or maybe second for my year. But then it just got out of control. There was this Asian guy called Yoshi who got like 125 and I was just like, all right, man, you win. I get it. He was just like this small, shredded, like gymnast type guy. He absolutely killed it. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. But that kind of got me into lifting weights. And then at lunchtime, like what do you usually do at lunchtime? You usually just sit around and talk to your mates. We used to play rugby. We used to play touch. We used to play league at lunch. But then it just got to a point where we just started lifting weights. Rob and I started lifting weights. And then my other friends, Miharu, Eugene, Kaylee, we all started lifting weights at lunchtime, which was super fun. If it was raining, of course we'd lift. If it was sunny, maybe we'd go and play touch or we'd just hang out and laugh sometimes. Like we wouldn't do it every single day, but most days. It was like 4 out of the 5 days of the week, we were in the gym lifting weights. And it was just fun. We would laugh, we would joke in between sets. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we loved it. So as I began to kind of just like fall in love with lifting weights and also playing sport, and then I was kind of getting curious with nutrition, I really started seeing big progress. And I went from being the small, wiry kid, like the smallest guy on the rugby field, to, let's just say, one of the most muscular. I wouldn't say the biggest because there's the forward pack, which are huge. I was a fullback. I was in the backs. And I would I started getting pretty big, and my top weight at high school, I ended up getting to 85 kilos, which is about 6 or 7 kilos lighter than I am now. But at 18 years old, 17 years old, that's pretty decent. So I was 85 kilos. I wasn't, like lean or anything. Like I think I had abs, but they weren't that impressive. But like I was still pretty strong. I remember my form was probably a bit dodgy, but I had a trap bar shrug of like 200 kilos. So I used to, at 17, 18 years old, it's pretty strong. Like I'd put 200 kilos on the barbell and like shrug, and I had these huge traps. I had these huge traps for a minute, just because I was obsessed with that exercise. And like I said, I wasn't training very good. My technique wasn't on point. I realized that I was doing bench press wrong for ages. I was feeling it in my shoulders. My chest was quite small. My posture was over, and I wasn't training perfectly, but I was building muscle, and I got to this point where I was 85 kilos in high school, and that showed that I responded very well. Obviously, I played sport most weekends. I had rugby training. I had touch training. I was like fit. I was doing sprint training at training for touch and for rugby and my other sports that I was doing. So I was always very like super athletic, but like I was responding very well. So it encouraged me once again in the motivational cycle to continue to push harder into training. And then as I kind of finished high school, I started kind of falling out of love with sport, but fell deeper in love with training and really doubled down. And training was like my outlet. It was like the thing I needed to do every day. And then I started, dabbling with nutrition because I was just eating whatever I wanted, which was a lot while I was playing sport and lifting weights all day. And when you're at school, you rack up a ton of steps. You have PE class where we would play dodgeball sometimes, walking back and forth to class, even just like say playing touch or playing rugby with your mates at lunchtime burns a ton of calories. You're doing a lot of steps, a lot of physical activity. So I was eating a lot. But then when I stopped doing sport and then I started studying and then I got into music, I wanted to be like this lean, One Direction, Zayn Malik looking type dude. So I did a lot of wrong things nutritionally, but I ended up losing a ton of weight. And at my lowest, I've talked about this a lot, but I was eating like 1,500 calories a day, and I ended up getting down to 69 kilos. Okay, like I was fitting in 28 waist jeans, which for me, looking back at it now, was very unhealthy for my height and my top weight. Like I was 6 foot, I think at the time, 85 kilos, and then I went from 6 foot to 69 kilos. Like I dropped so much weight, and I was very lean. I lost a lot of my muscle mass that I built, and I got down to this low weight, like over time. But I was doing silly things like eating 1 meal a day, eating 1,500 calories a day, eating only low carb, not touching carbohydrates, very high protein diet. I also wasn't sleeping very much because I was so determined at this time to, make a life for myself. So I was down at 69 kilos. Okay. But then the twist happened. I ended up transitioning out of music back into sport or personal training, and I got into lifting. I got into eating more. And that's when my very rapid transformation went from 69 kilos and I started gaining and I started gaining and I started training hard and I started getting stronger, started training with good form because I was now a personal trainer. I was educated, I was learning, and I was getting stronger. I was putting 20 plates on, I was putting 10 plates on, I was putting 5 plates on. I just kept getting stronger. And then I was surrounded by personal trainers. And what do personal trainers do in their spare time? They lift weights. So all we did was, if we didn't have a client, if a client canceled, we would go and lift weights. What would we do on the weekends? We'd meet up and lift weights. So I was getting like obsessed with lifting weights again, and I really loved it. And I started just like packing on muscle, and I wasn't scared of food anymore. I didn't want to be this low calorie, low carbohydrate guy because I knew that I felt great on carbohydrates. So I was just like eating, and I did go through like this kind of like eating disorder thing where I would like really try to eliminate carbs and no ice cream, no cake, no this and no that. So I'd like starve myself all day, just protein. And then I'd get home at night and I would like end up binging, which wasn't healthy at all, man. It was like actually looking back at it, it was like a pretty dark time because like I was like living on my own in a city that I didn't have any family in. I was working in a job that I was pretty new in. I was running my own business, and I'd never run a business before. So, there's the thing of like people not paying, and how do you manage that? Do I put them on direct debit? Do I take cash? Do I just trust them to make bank payments? Like all this kind of stuff that you go through as a personal trainer, I was like doing on my own. I didn't have a car. I had to buy one. I was working as well on the weekends to supplement my income. But as I kind of got into personal training, I really loved it. I really got into training. And to bring it back to my transformation, not my life at the time, I ended up putting like a very decent physique back on, and it was in a quick time frame, because even though I was this skinny little gherkin that dropped down to 69 kilos, I still had that muscle memory. I still knew how to train. I still had this passion for training. And I was training this whole time when I was 69 kilos, but I was just training differently. I was doing a lot of cardio. I was doing a lot of sprinting. I was doing a lot of high rep work. I was not training legs because I wanted skinny legs that looked skinny in skinny jeans. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's what I was doing. And I just kept doing that, and I was going. But then when I started eating again, and I started doing strength work and doing like 2 reps, 3 reps, 4 reps, 5 reps, like sitting in this like strength rep range. And then I was like not doing cardio. I was doing sprints, or I wasn't even doing sprints sometimes. I was just lifting weights. I really started to pack on muscle, and I ended up getting to like this weight eventually when, I moved to Gold Coast, and then I moved to Sydney. When I was in Sydney, man, so from 2014 to 2017, this 3-year span, like it still took me 3 years to get to a pretty good physique. This 3-year span, I went from 69 kilos up to 90 kilos. So 21 kilos of muscle I put on, because when I was 90 kilos, I was lean. I had abs. I was leaner than I was in the 69 kilo photo. So that's the kind of background of my transformation in a shell. I could dive into specific training periodization programs that I went through, and all this type of stuff. But that's the general gist. I went from being big from being small, and then to being big again. But through this transition, I gained awesome amounts of knowledge from becoming a qualified personal trainer and doing my own genuine curious research, doing a lot of courses, online courses, seminars as well, with face-to-face, other personal trainers that I would deem as the greats, learning from them, success leaves clues and all of that stuff. And then also, muscle maturity. As you get older, your muscles begin to mature. And then as you progress through training, you also get stronger from applying progressive overload, which is a principle that you need to build muscle and to get stronger. So I was applying these things, and over time you get stronger, and a stronger body is often a more muscular body. So over that time, I really kind of transformed my body naturally. All this to say, I haven't taken performance enhancing drugs. My friends laugh on Instagram because they know me. And I'm very transparent on this podcast. I'm very transparent on my social media channels as well. If I was taking steroids, I'd probably tell you. I would tell you. I just don't want to do it. Look, if I get older and I'm done with having kids and I'm like, mate, I might jump on some TRT. You never know. I'm not opposed to it. I might do it later on. But we're talking years away. We're talking 50 years old. I'm turning 30 this year. I've got a lot of time to continue to try and take this natural physique wherever I want to take it. I haven't even peaked yet. I've got 6 years until I peak. I think you peak at about 35 years old, and then it's all downhill from there. But mate, I've got a bright future for building muscle. So if you think I'm on performance enhancing drugs now, it's only going to get worse. Yeah, I haven't touched it. I don't want to touch it. I don't need to touch it. I'm a coach. I'm not stepping on stage for bodybuilding. And even if I ever competed in bodybuilding, I would do it in a natural class, which I know can just be you can take it on the off season and then go off cycle for the competition. And then you've already, your physiology is different if you have taken steroids before. But anyway, I haven't touched it. And that's the story of my natural transformation. Believe me or don't, but that's how I would tell it. As I said, my friends, especially like my childhood friends that like lifted with me through high school, like Rob, me, Huddle, Eugene, Kaylee, like these guys that I like talked about that I lifted with at Christchurch Boys High School when we went there. Like, they'll vouch for me, and they just think it's funny. But I was just, I guess, ruthlessly committed to lifting weights and blessed with good genetics and a good hard work ethic. And, those three things are a pretty strong trifecta for awesome results. And, like the last thing I'll say on that, and this is definitely not from a narcissistic place, but a lot of the people that write those comments could either be jealous or just upset that they haven't got the same results. I'm not trying to say that people are jealous of my physique, because that sounds so big-headed, it's crazy. But a lot of people are like, well, I've been lifting for 15 years and I don't look like that. And then, my response to that is, okay, what about your genetics? What about your work ethic? And what about the actual quality of work that you put in? Because, I was obsessed with it. I was only thinking about lifting weights for ages. I studied it. I'm obsessed with it. I'm pairing it with awesome nutrition now. I'm aware that sleep is super important. I know that supplements can help. I know that, things like caffeine and creatine and beta-alanine can really, help you with that. Like 15 years of training is 15 years of training. But it's also very different. Like if someone trained for 15 years versus me, maybe I just worked harder than them. Maybe I took most of my sets closer to failure than them. Maybe I got a little bit more sleep than them. Maybe I didn't. Maybe, I did a well-structured program and they didn't. So there's a ton of things that needs to be considered when we're thinking about, oh yeah, I've trained for 10 years too, but I don't look like that. So you must be on performance enhancing drugs. All right, that's just a stupid argument because your training could be subpar in many ways. And maybe mine is too. Maybe someone that's trained 15 years looks way better than me. Natural. Hats off to them, man. I don't care. I'm very confident in my own skin. Okay, I've achieved this physique. This is what's happened in 15 years. What am I going to do now to change that? I've also picked up jiu-jitsu, which slows me down a bit. Like my knees sore. I knee barred myself as I got swept in half guard. I rolled the wrong way, and now my right leg doesn't straighten. And like when I first started jiu-jitsu, my elbows were always sore. Sometimes my neck is like super stiff. Sometimes my lower back's stiff, and like it does affect my lifting. So I think if I didn't do that and I just invested my entire time into lifting weights and stuff, then I think I would have a better physique in terms of muscle and in terms of strength. But, I choose to do jiu-jitsu because it's a fun thing for me physically. I've stepped away from sport, but now I'm doing sport again, and it's really fun. It's a solo sport, but it's also kind of like a team sport as well, because you roll with all the dudes and the chicks that are there, and you make friendships, and you're learning all the time. You're learning ways to pass the guard, to footlock, to arm lock, to choke, positional play, open guard, all this type of stuff. You're learning all these techniques. So it kind of so the way I explain it, like weights versus jiu-jitsu, what is the best thing? I think, weights are not alive. They don't move. They don't think for themselves. You just lift them. The harder you want to make it, you can just add more weight, or you can choose an exercise that's more difficult, let's say. But with jiu-jitsu, the thing that I like is you're dealing with another person that is trying to react, and they're alive, and they think, and they have an ability to reason. So they might go for a move, and then you got to shut that down. They might fake a move, and then you might fall for it, and then they have a counter to that. But then what's your response to that? So like it's live. It's like decision making on the spot. Like I find that very exciting. I'm also a very competitive person, so I like versing people. Not that I'm out there to like smash people and take souls and, come home and feel like a king because I've obliterated people in the gym, because to be honest, that doesn't really happen. There's people that beat me up, but it's very fun to verse someone live. And I find like that element that it brings to my life just supplements lifting weights. Like with lifting weights, I know that all the weight's going to do is like make it harder for me. But with jiu-jitsu, it's not just like, okay, I'm versing a strong guy, they're going to be much stronger. It's more difficult. It's like, okay, their technique's better. Okay, they're more explosive than me. Okay, they weigh heavier than me. Okay, they're more flexible than me. Okay, they're smarter than me. They have better technique than me. They've been doing it longer than me. Like, there's all these factors. So it's very fun and stimulating. All right. Moving on to Mr. Beast's body transformation. So I made a video on this on YouTube. So I'll put it, if you are watching this on YouTube, it's not on my podcast account. It's on my my actual YouTube account, which is just Brock Ashby. But yeah, Mr. Beast went from obese to Mr. I am a beast. He didn't talk about how much weight he dropped, but he definitely went from, being, mate, I would say 30-35% body fat. Some people have claimed 40%, like Greg Doucette. Greg Doucette, he said like 40% body fat, and some other people have followed suit with him. I would say 30 to 35, but not any kind of decent muscle mass. So now he's hired a coach that he tagged on Instagram. He's been lifting weights pretty much every day that he has needed to in his program. I don't think that's like lifting weights 7 days a week. I think he might do it 5 or 6 days a week, but he hasn't missed a day. And he's doing like 12,500 steps a day, sometimes 15,000 steps a day. And he's completely transformed his body. And why am I talking about Mr. Beast? Well, like, most people know who he is. He's the world's biggest YouTuber. He's got a video, like when he recreated Squid Games, that's got over 400 million views. He's got over 100 million subscribers on YouTube. He's the most subscribed to YouTuber in the world. He's got, like multiple businesses. He's got like multiple channels as well. He's got Mr. Beast Philanthropy, Mr. Beast Gaming, Mr. Beast Reacts, his channel, and then he's got a backup channel. So he's got like 5 channels at least. He's got employees. He's got Feastables. He's got just a ton of Beast Burger. He's got a ton of things going on. And the reason I want to talk about this is like, this guy is like the busiest person, most driven person, very close to Elon Musk like behavior, and, a very successful kind of like driven guy, Steve Jobs type of vibe. And he still made time to transform his body. And I want to talk about like the commitments he's made. Like, he's made it a non-negotiable. So there's another YouTuber called R.I.P. He's created a contract with him that if they, like, the first person that misses a day has to get a tattoo of the other person on their body. So he's got skin in the game. He's committed, which makes a big difference. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't do when they're trying to transform their body, is they don't commit to it. Like, I do like bets. I'm not saying like you have to lose weight and like win money, but if you have a bet with your friend, like, I'm going to lose this much weight, or I'm going to go every day, like, because sometimes losing a certain amount of weight isn't the best goal to have, like, I'm going to lose 10 kilos in 10 weeks. Maybe that's not the best. Maybe it's, I'm going to go to the gym, 5 times a week for 10 weeks. Maybe that's good enough to get you to the gym. And like, if you do that, your husband's going to take you out to the nicest restaurant in Sydney, something like that. Like, having a bit of skin in the game does help, a bit of commitment. That's why I like to have prizes in my 8-week challenges. That's why, it kind of adds like like a dangling carrot at the end. I think that does make a big difference. And I talked about this in the YouTube video that I made, but often we have to have like a health scare, or have like a determining like a turning point in our life to really commit to something. Like, to go back to what I said earlier, if you have a heart attack and then they're like, you have to train every day for at least 30 minutes. And that doesn't mean lifting weights. That means at least going for a 30-minute walk, a 30-minute run, a 30-minute weightlifting session, a 30-minute yoga session. So you're like, oh, damn, I do not want to leave this earth yet. I'm going to train every 30 minutes. It's a done deal. You're committed. Like, you don't need any bets, because you could lose your life. That commitment takes you a long way. So whatever that is, find it. If you find that you're never really sticking to your goals, I feel like you haven't found the right drive. Sometimes all it takes is for you to just look at your kids and think, man, I wish I could get down there and play with them, but I can't, because, I'm too overweight, I'm too immobile, I'm too unflexible, I get tired. like even just that might just like pump you up so much. You're like, man, I don't want my kid to grow up without having, moments on the playmat playing peekaboo. Like maybe that is just like the strongest driving thing for you. And if it is, that's awesome. Like use that as motivation to really like smash your goals. I think that would, like that's such an awesome goal. Often a goal outside of yourself is a lot better. When you're doing it for someone else, like this is why people do marathons for people when they're raising, like say their best friend, and like obviously this is terrible if this happens, but some people have friends and they get cancer and they need an operation and it costs a ton of money that they don't have. So they sign up to a marathon, or they like create their own event and they say, we're running for cancer, we're raising money for this person to have it. Like when you have a goal that's outside of yourself, it's quite like you're responsible for something else. When you have a responsibility for something else, you have to show up. If it's just like you're like, I want, 2 kilos of muscle in 6 months. If you don't do that, who's going to tell you off? No one. Who's going to keep you accountable? No one. Who's going to say, hey man, like how much muscle have you built this week? No one. No one is, because you've only kept that deal to yourself. Even if you publicly tell people, they don't really care because it's just concerning them. So try to figure out it's an extrinsic goal. It's a goal that's out there, maybe for someone else or for some event, or just try to think of a goal outside of yourself, because that can help, and obviously, this sounds quite hypocritical because I coach people through their body transformations, and we're trying to lose X amount of kg, we're trying to like do this or do that, but they have a strong enough why to sign up for my coaching. So I know that they have a reason that's like, hey, I really want to make a change. So then we're focusing on numbers and stuff, because if I'm just a coach out there saying like, hey, what's your goal? And okay, yeah, that's a cool goal. All right, let's do it. And I'm just like this airy-fairy coach talking about goals and like, yeah, how do you feel? You feel good? Yeah, cool. Let's keep going. Like I have to, like, people hire me for my expertise. So we're talking about numbers. We're talking about macros. We're talking about fiber. We're talking about how much steps we're doing and periodizing them for their goal. And it's very complex. But on a surface level, if you're not achieving goals, if you're not transforming your body, find a reason, a motivational drive that's going to stick. That's going to stick. Let's finish that sentence there. That's going to stick. Okay. Yeah, that's been an awesome thing for Mr. Beast. Like he's probably dropped like 10 to 15% body fat, maybe even 20% body fat. Like he's almost got abs. Not that means anything, but he's dropped significant. Like he definitely didn't have abs in his before photo. He was like obese, and now he's like, I would say he's like lean. He doesn't have abs. He's not like shredded. Like being shredded is like a different, like you step up a notch when you're shredded. You have veins, you have abs. He's like lean, which is like such a nice thing to see, especially with such an influential dude. Like he's got people following him everywhere. So yeah, hats off to him, and hopefully you're inspired by him. If he can do it, anyone can. One thing that he said that he does with like his steps that he has to do, he says that he takes phone calls while he's doing them. And I think this is a super key thing, because often we see like step targets and we're like, man, like those steps are too high. Like I can't get 12,500 steps. Okay, then do something else when you're doing it. So that, like, what's something monotonous that you do in your day where you're sitting on your ass? Okay, let's say you take Zoom calls. Instead of doing a Zoom call, just like standing there, sitting there, if possible, take your phone out for a walk and put on Zoom, and then just like walk while you do it. Maybe get a standing desk. That can help, just changing from standing to sitting. But try to walk a bit more. Try to get those steps in. I love taking phone calls and getting up and walking. It's second nature now. I like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. That's second nature now. I like taking, especially when you step on an escalator. I love continuing to walk, because a lot of people get to an escalator, they're like, and they just stand there. And it's like, mate, you're still on a piece of, you're still on a surface that can allow you to walk. Like, you don't have to stop. Like, keep walking. If you bus to work, then you can get off a stop early and then just continue to walk to your destination. That's another trick. There's many things that we can do. On the weekend, if you're going out to a cafe, maybe, just maybe, you don't go to a cafe. You go to the park for a picnic and you play with your kids, or you play with your friends that are there. You take a ball and you throw it around. There's many ways that we can get intentional about our physical activity. And just like Mr. Beast takes phone calls and talks to people or has business meetings, you can also find ways to intervene in your life to make a successful body transformation. So Joe Linda, or Joesthetics, passed away, I think it's a couple of weeks ago now, and I was going to do a YouTube video on it, but I just wanted to talk about it on this. I'm not going to do the YouTube video because I don't actually know enough about him. It seems that he was like a really awesome dude, and I say that because a lot of people talked about his interactions. He had like 8 million followers on Instagram, and I think he replied back to a lot of comments. He had time for a lot of people face to face. He became viral because he actually had this, I think they're saying it's a disease now, like this muscle tingling, and maybe not tingling, but like he would like stretch out his chest and then kind of like move his fingers, and his like chest would ripple, muscle rippling disease or something like that, and like it would like move like that, and he went viral from that. He also had a super impressive physique. He was enhanced. He was using PEDs, but he talked about it openly and acknowledged that he took it. And that's the biggest thing that I guess I respect him for, because in the fitness industry, as we talked about in the start of this podcast, it's littered with people just lying about their PED abuse. He talked about it. He talked about like when he was younger, he really abused it, and then he was like on TRT trying to manage it after for a while. Closer to his passing, he was talking about it a bit more. He was jumping on a few podcasts, but yeah, he did use, and he talked about it openly, which is awesome. And he's like, even though he used and he had an incredible physique, like his followers weren't being like manipulated. He wasn't like, oh, you can look like me. It was more so like, he would say, this is what I do for training, or he would just like post funny videos where he was like being sarcastic and stuff like that. So, I think he was a good guy. I think he was funny. I think he really cared for his followers, which is really cool. As I said, he used and he talked about it, which was really awesome, because he had that transparency around this incredible physique that he had. Like, it was very triangular. It was very V-shaped, very inspirational, aspirational to many young bodybuilding dudes. And often when you get young people into bodybuilding, they take whatever they hear from the biggest, strongest dudes and they replicate it. And that's what I did. So Lazar Angelov has come out maybe a couple years ago. He's a bodybuilder that I really looked up to, talked about like he used clenbuterol. I didn't know anything about that. I was doing his programs. I was reading his interviews. I was eating the foods that he ate. I was doing all this kind of stuff. And I didn't get the results that he did. I wasn't really that frustrated because I enjoyed training, but I think, if I thought about it harder, I was pretty, I guess I was gutted that I followed his program and didn't get the same results. I was even eating the same meals that he did, and they were boring bodybuilder meals like 6 to 7 times a day. I went through that. I didn't look like him, and he had these abs that were like perfectly cased, and I was like, man, I want that, and I never got it. Following his meal plan and following his program, so it was frustrating. But anyway, it's good to see like people out there that are open about their testosterone use. They are saying like with his passing away, because it's a big question mark. Like, did PEDs, make Joe Linda pass away? I don't think you can draw that conclusion. I watched More Plates, More Dates video on it, and I think they're saying he had a brain aneurysm. He had a sore neck like a day or two before that. I think he had something to do with his blood, and he like flew a lot, which isn't good for it. He also drank a lot of caffeine, which like thins the blood. So there could be something there. I'm not sure, but I don't think it comes down to PED use, because I think he was he was backing off it. I really don't have the answers for that. I think there's probably more videos up to date on it. I guess I just wanted to bring attention to it because, it's sad that a fitness influencer that I would say isn't ruining the fitness industry, because a lot of them are just like posting random workouts that they don't even do, abusing PEDs and lying about it, and manipulating their following, and then just like creating businesses off the back of it, and it's terrible. I don't think this guy was that. I think he was a good dude, and I think he's going to be dearly missed. But respect for him and the way that he like operated as a dude. I don't think I want to talk about photo editing because we already did it earlier on. But I guess I will say, with editing photos and like the people that Goob is capturing, it doesn't do a lot. Even if you don't find out like the comparison that people are making with themselves to other people online is just absurd. That's why I never edit my photos. You won't see any beams, being like altered. You won't see any, straight lines, crooked. I don't edit them. My physique is my physique. If I want to look better, then I'm going to work hard and look better. I'm not going to like edit it to make myself look better just in order to sell more programs or look more aspirational. But, we do compare ourselves to other people online. And if you further, polarize your physique and alienate yourself, like you look like this creature, and you lie about it, it really does do detrimental thing to other people's mental health that are consuming your content. So I guess I'm talking to the wrong people, because most people that follow me aren't fitness influencers. But if you are doing that stuff, cut it out, mate. Cut it out. You're not doing anything for the fitness industry or yourself long term, because you're going to be that guy that just lied to their whole audience. And fitness may not last forever. There's going to be one day where you don't look that good with your booty out or your shirt off. So you have to start thinking, okay, are you going to be a credible person? And that takes you a lot further than manipulating a few 100,000 people or millions of people. Let's end the podcast with 3 creatine facts. I just sent this out in my motivational mailing list, my motivational email list that I send out 3 times per week. On Monday, we have Motivational Monday. On Wednesday, we have Wednesday Wisdom. On Friday, we have Facts Friday. And today's Friday, and on Facts Friday, this is what I sent. 3 facts about creatine that you must know. So let me take you through them. You are 8% stronger with your resistance training when taking creatine. And we are talking about taking creatine monohydrate. A review compared a group of studies that tested individuals 1, 3, and 10 rep max and found that people taking creatine had an increase in 20% in muscle strength, where the placebo group only increased theirs by 12%, leaving an 8% discrepancy or advantage to the creatine group in muscle strength. I'm just going to grab some water. So that wasn't just one particular study. That was a research review that had peer research review, had a group of studies that they put together and they kind of summarize the data, and that was it. 8% is a lot. 8% is a lot. It does also show that 12% with placebo, it's pretty good. Potentially people are operating under their potential if they can increase their performance by 12% just by taking a placebo. I've read the book, The Expectation Effect, which is awesome around that. If you do like the idea of placebo and the expectation effect, what you can expect of yourself, I would encourage reading that book. It's really good. Point number 2, 20 to 30% of people that take creatine, 20 to 30% are non-responders to creatine. And you have to find out for yourself if it works for you by taking it consistently for at least 4 weeks, because it is a supplement that needs to saturate into your body. You don't take it before a workout and go, oh man, that creatine really worked. If that happened, you're operating straight out of placebo. Creatine is not an acute supplement that works like that. It needs time to enter into your system. So take it for at least 4 weeks and observe if your weights are looking more impressive than they were previously. Trial and error is your friend here. So you can take it 3 to 5 grams for 4 weeks, and that's going to sufficiently saturate into your muscle cells that you need it to do. Or you can load creatine. Loading creatine is like ultimately kind of like doubling your dose. So instead of 3 to 5 grams, you can take somewhere between 10 to 20 grams for 2 weeks. And then it's going to saturate into your system. And then you can just continue the regular dose of 3 to 5 grams of creatine per day. The only obstacle that you may have to hop over if you do take creatine through the loading phase is that it may cause gastrointestinal discomfort, which means it might, cause a bit of irritation for your gut. You might get diarrhea, you might be bloated. So I like to just bypass that by just going 3 to 5 grams per day. I'd rather that than sitting on the toilet all day, but it's up to you. Point number 3, creatine has no long-term adverse effects and is safe to take year-round. There is no compelling scientific evidence that the short or long-term use of creatine monohydrate, up to 30 grams per day for 5 years, that's huge, has any detrimental effects on otherwise healthy individuals or among clinical populations who may benefit from creatine supplementation. A lot of people, this is probably the most asked question around creatine that I get is like, how long do I take creatine for, or should I cycle on and off creatine? And creatine is not performance-enhancing drugs. It's not steroids. You don't have to cycle on and off. It's a supplement that you need to saturate into the muscle cells. So how would you continue to be saturated? You would continue to take it. You do not need to cycle off it. You can continue to take it safely throughout the year, which I do. I take it every day. I put it in my morning smoothie. A little tip I will just tag on the end of this is like, try to pair your creatine supplementation with something that you do every day so that you don't forget it. A simple one is brushing your teeth, right? We brush our teeth every day, in the morning or at night, or maybe both. So just like when you brush your teeth, have you taken your creatine? No, take it. So, and then just make that pair. It's called habit pairing. It's a concept of Atomic Habits. But that can really help you commit to it, because you do need to saturate the muscles, or else it's just kind of like a waste of time. If you take creatine every second or third day, like, you're just wasting your money, you're wasting your time, and you're not going to reap the benefits. You're not going to be 8% stronger. So take it. I do want to end this podcast with something that I read today. So my friend Jamal got me a book called The Daily Dad. If you're on YouTube, you can see it here. It's by Ryan Holiday. I think it's a spin-off of The Daily Stoic, which is another great book that I haven't read but have heard great things on it. So The Daily Dad, if you don't know, I am a new dad of 6 months. And it's like 366 meditations on parenting, love, and raising great kids. And I read something the other day. July 18th was the day that it was for. And I want to read it out to you. And this could be for any parents or just for people in general. I don't think it specifically applies to parenting, but it's really good. Like, when it hit me, I was like, yep, not doing that. Okay, so this is called Don't Give Them This. The biggest impediment to happiness in life is something that many of us picked up very early in our lives: shame. Shame is guilt's evil twin. Where guilt is feeling bad about things you've done, shame is feeling bad about who you are, for things about yourself that you don't even control. Having normal biological urges, being uncoordinated, having unique artistic tastes, struggling with social cues, having a limited palate or an extremely adventurous one. There is almost no limit to the things about ourselves that we are capable of feeling shame over. What's so tragic about shame, though, is that it does not come naturally. Watch an innocent child play intently with their food or pretend completely to be a princess or a dragon, and there isn't a whisper of shame to be heard, because they have not been made to feel ashamed about these things yet. Shame is inherited. It is passed along, often by parents, on the back of cutting remarks, unnecessary judgments, and thoughtless choices. It's up to you to not let them inherit shame. It's up to you to let them be their own people, to let them be comfortable in their own skin. Pretending to be dragons, flailing to music you don't like, trying things you'd never try yourself, it doesn't matter, as long as it matters to them. Embrace your children so they might embrace the things that make them unique and wholly themselves. There is no shame in that.